If I know that in this hotel room they have food every day, and I'm knocking on the door every day to eat, and they open the door, let me see the party, let me see like them throwing salami all over just like throwing food around. But they're telling me there's no food in here. You know what I'm saying? Every day. I'm standing outside trying to sing my way in. You know what I'm saying? We are hungry, please let us in. We are hungry, please let us in. After about a week, that song is going to change to, we hungry, we need some food. After 2-3 weeks, it's like, give me all the food, breaking out the door. And after a year, then you just like, you know what I'm saying? I'm picking the lock, coming through the door, blasting, you know what I'm saying? It's like you hungry, you reached your level, you don't want any more. We asked 10 years ago. We was asking with the Panthers. We was asking with them, with civil rights movement. We was asking, now those people that were asking, they're all dead and in jail. So now what do you think we're going to do? Ask?
Salutations, I'm Mortika Lacrosse, and this is a Black Lives Matter video. It's also an in-depth video, which we haven't done here for a while, an in-depth video, so here it is. We're going to break down the bullshit arguments that the other side tends to make against Black Lives Matter. They claim that it makes people anti-cop. The phrase Black Lives Matter is not really a response to whites who kill black people. It is a response to whites killing black people and getting away with it. George Zimmerman wasn't even arrested for a month after murdering an unarmed 15-year-old. Darren Wilson wasn't even tried for shooting Mike Brown. You know what also makes people anti-cop? Shooting innocent women in the face. Pumping over 137 bullets into a car of an unarmed couple. If law enforcement officers enforced the law equally and without prejudice, screaming Black Lives Matter at a prison dance next to a Black Panther rally wouldn't even raise a pulse. So another thing they try to say is it's become too divisive. The reasonable people contend that the phrase Black Lives Matter has become too divisive. They say the American mainstream views it as militant and anti-white. So though there are good intentions, it automatically turns people off. Here's the thing, though. There's never been a movement started by an underclass that has been accepted by the mainstream. Not the abolitionist movement, not the Black Power movement, not the Civil Rights movement, not socialism, not the LGBT movement. If black people crafted a response to racism and violence based on how the majority of white people felt, it would look like brown-skinned toddlers on bended knee wearing knickerbockers begging passerbys if they could please spare a little bit of that freedom. The whole white lives / all lives matter too. This argument is narcissistic that it's almost the textbook illustration of white privilege. The simple affirmation of the value of black lives is so egregious in the minds of some people that are not mentioning white people as an offense in and of itself. Therefore, in the egocentric logic, Black Lives Matter must have really been an unsaid silent only prefacing it. Thus the need for White Lives Matter. Using the sound logic of the All Lives Matter argument, we should shut down the divisive, insidious breast cancer walks because they ignore prostate cancer and leukemia. All cancers matter, right? The truth is, anyone saying White Lives Matter really means fuck Black Lives. Stop resisting when cops tell you to do something. You're right. Everyone should cooperate with any person telling them to do something when the person is holding a gun in their hand. Makes common sense and preserves life. But there's a very big but here. The penalty for disobeying a lawful order isn't death. If we are a nation of laws, then the true individual liberties people so often tout means that every citizen has the choice between lawfulness and the punishment for lawlessness. If there's a segment of society for whom officers are the judge and the jury, then they aren't law enforcement officers by definition. Besides, there are certain biological reactions that one can't control, like 16-year-old muscles tightening when threatened with violence or trying to breathe when being choked. Plus, have you seen the multitude of YouTube videos of Caucasians talking smack while carrying loaded weapons on the street and living to tell the tale? Or asserting their rights during traffic stop? African Americans aren't privy to those same protections. The old all cops aren't bad cops. Well, everyone knows that all cops aren't bad, but the opposing arguer always loathe to admit that there's statistically impossible for every single law enforcement agency to employ a workforce that is 100% capable and 0% corrupt. That means occasionally you're going to have like a few bad police officers, and occasionally Studies show that people live in minority and poor neighborhoods are statistically more likely to be the victims of crime, which means the people in these neighborhoods are more dependent on law enforcement for their safety and well-being. It's easy to dismiss the existence of a small minority of bad policemen when you live in safe suburbs and don't need to protect your life, property, or safety. No one thinks all cops are bad, but it's stupid to think that no cops are bad. It's not about race, except for those pesky things called facts. ProPublica, I think I might be pronounced right, recently reported in a study that showed black male teens are 21 times more likely to be killed by police officers than their male counterparts. And the geeky numbers-based site 538 elevated numbers that revealed that 41% of unarmed people shot by law enforcement officers over the past 2 years were black, even though they were only 14% of the population. Why don't you address the problem with black-on-black crime? Intentionally save this one for last, because everyone from the loudmouth trying to disguise possibility as intelligence, ESPN version of Al Sharpton, to Rudy Giuliani, to Richard Sherman, to KK leaders have voiced this opinion. Let's be clear, there's no such thing as black-on-black crime. It's a catchphrase, a trope. Almost all victims of violent crime are victimized by someone they know. White people hurt white people, black people commit crimes against black people. The simple fact is all of these are just cop-outs to ignore the issue. And the issue is that white people brought black people over here to do work that they didn't want to do and then forced them into slavery. And then when those people decided to rebel and finally gain some freedom as well, those same very people had to be something done about them, and the white people didn't want them anywhere near them, so they put them into these poor, dilapidated down neighborhoods and put them in poverty, and poverty breeds crime. And then they wonder why when the people start protesting, they're getting treated like crap, of why they're aggressive towards the so-called, innocent white community. I wonder why. But then the white people get more guns and treat the blacks even worse and beat them down. See, the thing is no one's arguing that, all lives don't matter. Everybody knows that, but somewhere down the line, people forgot that black lives matter as well. And that's the whole point of this, is somewhere down the line, people forgot that all lives matter, no matter what the skin color is. And that's why there's Black Lives Matter, to remind people that, yes, Black Lives Matter too. Until next time, farewell and peace. I'm Mortika Lacrosse, and this has been another episode of In Depth.